Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming on today. Happy New Year, and wishing for you much success. So today we're going to be talking about, a topic that is high on the agenda for a lot of persons who are in, you already have your private practice and you're thinking about what does that growth path looks like for 2024. We're going to be working through how you can create that and how you can make it a reality. And so, if you want to uplevel your private practice, if you want to see growth, go to another level, I'm inviting you to stick around. We're going to be working through some practical tools, and I'm going to be your facilitator, Michelle O'Connor. And if at any point in time you have any questions, you want to connect and ask about anything that I've shared, my link is in the chat. You can go ahead and join and schedule your appointment for your discussion. So I'm going to be walking through complete action steps. You don't want to miss anything. Once we go through the aim of this presentation and this mini workshop, I can call it, is to really provide you with practical tips on how it is that you can develop that plan for your practice and aim for growth. So let us get started. So the first thing you want to do when you have a practice and you're thinking about growth for the next level is that you want to agree on what your target looks like. So I put 500,000 US. I mean, it could be more, and you'll see what I mean when we go through that. Aiming for 500,000 revenue can be attained easily based on what you do and how it is that you plan. So the first thing you want to do is set a revenue goal. Persons are walking through the door. Maybe in your practice, you've already been able to afford to pay your staff, to pay yourself. But if you're thinking about where am I going to be, where's my practice going to be 5 years from now, or am I able to operate this practice and still take vacation for my family, or am I able to not show up for work, or can this practice grow without me? Setting a target, and you can choose whatever number. I chose 500,000, but you can choose whichever number works for you, because we're going to be going through the steps, and I would encourage you to work through with me as we go along. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. So the first thing you want to do, agree on what your target is. What is that goal that you're working towards? And so for this example, I chose a particular field that we're going to be working through, but put your own numbers and your own services. So make a list of, good morning, happy new year, thank you for coming on. Let me know where you're joining from. And also what field you're in as well. We can always use it as an example. So what you want to do is you want to say, what services are you offering? So for this example, I'm going to use a dentist. So the dentist is offering dental cleaning, extractions, teeth whitening, and oral surgery. And these are all services that cost something different. So for your practice and for what you offer, think about what are those four or what are those three areas that I want to focus on for 2024, and make a list of them. Then the next thing, when we think about setting what the revenue target is from these services, you want to determine what revenue target you want. And sometimes what we might be afraid, because we're just going by what has been happening. But be intentional. That is what this is about. When you are intentional, you know where your energy is going. You know what you're going to be focusing on. So determine the target from each service. Use historic information. So you would have had your accountants prepare your financials. Go back and look at them. If you have a system that is tracking your revenue, go back and look at it and see how much you've been able to generate from each of the services that you offer, and also based on what you know is possible. So if you know that you may not be generating the revenue that you want, but you know that it is possible, I want to encourage you to pick that number. And it's okay if the number is not what you know you can achieve. Sometimes we want to go for what we know, but when I go through with you, as we go through this deck, what you'll realize is there is a way that you can find out, okay, if I don't know how it can be achieved, Is there somebody that can help me? So that's what I want you to do. So remember, at any point in time as I go through, drop your questions in the chat. And also, if you want to schedule an appointment, I've placed my calendar link there so we can make your private practice profitable. So here we go. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is focus on these slides, because we're going to be building out the table as we go along. So remember, for this example, we're using a dentist, and I want you to insert your own practice, your own services that you offer on this. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to also be giving you the link to the sales plan that I use to create this so that you can also use it for yourself. So determine the target that you want. So for this example, we're saying from dental cleaning, we're generating 120. For extractions, it's 80,000. For whitening, it's 50,000. And for oral surgery, it's 250,000. Now, for your practice, remember, you're looking at your historic information. You're also thinking about what you know is possible, or you're just picking a number from the hat. You have started, maybe you have a particular service that you want to zone in on. I want you now to pick a number for it. So pick a number, any number. So all of these numbers, I just randomly selected something for the example, total of 500,000, because that is the revenue that we're working towards. So identify how much you charge. We need to know our cost. And maybe in 2023, you had a particular cost that you are charging. Now for 2024, you may be looking at, how am I going to revise, or am I increasing the cost for my service? Put the cost there so you are clear, because the next thing that we're going to be talking about is how many clients. But in order to get there, you need to know how much you're charging. So I am going to be, my dental cleaning services is 250, extractions 500, whitening 150, and oral surgery is $1,500. So select and insert what your cost is. And remember, at the end of this, I'm going to be leaving you with the slide, with the link, to build this out. But I want you to stick around and think about it and not get caught up in the how. How many clients do you need in order to meet your goal? And this is where sometimes we might get concerned, or we're wondering if this number is possible. And you will notice that I don't have a total for the number of clients, and there's a reason behind that. I'll get to that shortly. So for dental cleaning, for the year, we're saying that we're going to need 480 patients. Extractions, we need 160, and for whitening, we need 333, oral surgery, 167. So when you are able to project your number of clients that you need for the year like that, what it does for you is it enables you now to think through how much you're going to need per quarter, how much you're going to need per month, and then how much you need per week. And then now it becomes realistic. You can now easily ask yourself, is this possible? Am I able to do it? Will I be able to do it? So it's in the sheet that I will send you, you'll realize that it works it out for you. All you will need to insert are these two columns. And what we have done is we've just divided your total revenue by your average cost per service, and that gives us the number of clients that you need. And that is what this is. So go ahead and think about that for your own practice. Remember, we're only using the dental services as an example to just walk you through how it is that you can develop that plan for your business. So now we want to talk about, balancing. So thinking about the revenue from each client is really just allowing you to see, okay, it's working out. Or if I think that is 480 patients that I need, maybe I could increase my revenue because I can do way more than 480. So what happens for us is when we look at our target and we see the target for the year, sometimes it can seem large, sometimes it can seem as if we are not able to achieve it. It will not be able to reach its target. But when you are able to break down your targets into services, break it down into the number of patients that you're going to need, you may realize that, you know what, this is more attainable than I thought. And so I want you to stick to this and use it and see how it is that it can help you in your practice. Now, once your target has been set, you can project your income and you can tweak as needed, as I said before. So on this slide, you will notice that the revenue is 120 from dental cleaning. without even knowing the math. If you think about it, you see 480, that's almost one patient per day. And a little bit more if you open on a weekend, because there are 365 days in the year. But you know that for your practice, you may be doing way more than this already. So, but we'll get to that shortly. But I want you to think through, what would you tweak? Because you have two things you can change. You can change your targeted revenue, or you can also change your average cost per year for your service. No, I have clients who might say, you know what, I don't want to work 5, 6 days for the week. I may only want to work 3 days for the week. No, it changes how we calculate things. And that is where now you have the power once this is done correctly. Because I am only going to be working, there are 2 months in the year I don't want to work. I don't want to work in August, and I don't want to work in December. So already you are now down to 10 months. So that makes a difference. So these two columns are two columns that you have the power to work with once you are able to make your projections and at least start. And remember, at any point in time, if it is that you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Or if you would love to schedule an appointment, my link is there. Success Business Club. We want to help you to make your private practice profitable. Go ahead and schedule your appointment. So we just discussed this. If you want to increase your prices, increase your prices. If you want to increase your total revenue, increase your total revenue. And guys, don't be scared of the numbers. I know I said this already, but don't be scared of the numbers. And I am emphasizing it because sometimes when you say to persons, oh, you're going to need 500 persons for the year, it might be like, oh my God. But when you break it down, you're able to see that it's attainable. So now we're going to be breaking down the number of patients that you need and show you how it is that you are able to attain that target without feeling overwhelmed. So let's take dental cleaning as an example. Remember, we're only using this for this presentation. If it is that you want to put in your own service, what you offer, the line that you're in, if you're a dermatologist, if you're a GP, if you're a cosmetic surgeon, you name it, you can put it in so that you can project. So for dental cleaning, we're saying that we needed 480 patients for the year. And remember, we're using this based on the assumption that we're working for 12 months. That can always change. This is just to explain the process. So for dental cleaning, 480 patients for the year, and that turns into 120 every 3 months or 44 a month. So that means it's one patient per day. And we know that there is no dental services out there that is only seeing one patient per day, unless you have a completely different job and this is just something you're doing on the side. So therefore, you can now decide, okay, you know what? No, that's not going to work. I'm doing maybe 10, 15 for the day. I'm going to increase that number. So you can go back to the previous table that we worked on to say, okay, this is way more than attainable. I want to be able to do twice or 3 times this per month. And you can make that change. No, and why I know it's possible, the funny thing is I was talking to my friend this morning who unfortunately has COVID, and she had a dental appointment because she just took off her braces, and it just so happened that she had to cancel, and the next appointment she's getting is all the way in March. So I know it's possible. So this is how you can work through, but you need to start by setting that larger target for the year, break down that target for per month, and you're now able to see that this is way more attainable than I thought. Extractions, 3 per week. So this is the reason when it came to the total number of patients for the year, I didn't sum the amount because I know that that amount can change. And we're going to talk shortly about how it is that you can even get the extractions from persons who come in and do their daily cleaning, their cleaning twice per year. So this is how much it would work out to, 3 per week. And I'm just showing you the example so that you can see how possible it is when you are able to break down your targets. The next service that we're going to be looking on is whitening. Now, if I was to ask you, Are you able, do you need to target 333 new patients? Maybe not. What you may need is this 333 can be coming from your current clients, but we'll talk about that shortly. This is one per day, approximately. If we're in February, it's one per day. So one patient per day. And we'll go into the marketing and how you would grow that after. Oral surgery, 3 per week. And from my experience, I know that this is way more than possible because I had to schedule appointments for oral surgery before, and it was months in advance, and they were always booked, and you had to make your appointments. So I know that the number is now too small, and I want to encourage you to do this for your own practice. Think about the services that you offer. Think about how much you want to earn. Break that down. How much do I want to earn? How much am I charging? And then you want to get to how much do I need per month? And you can increase as you go along, but you need to start with a plan. So this is what we are left with. I want you to answer for yourself when you create yours, even if you're just writing it on paper, you're maybe doing it in a little Excel sheet. Is it possible? And I'm also going to be sharing with you the link to the sales plan that you can go ahead and start your own if you have not already done so. Or maybe you did it, but you're like, okay, it probably needs some tweaking, or you could do with some help. Will I be able to reach these number of patients per month? 40 for dental cleaning, 13 for extraction, 28 for whitening, and 14 for oral surgery. Average 30 days in the month. Average 20 working days, let's put it that way. But I know most dental offices, or sometimes some private practices, are open on a Saturday. So this is what you want to think about when you're working through what your revenue is. So we're already at 500, and we've already agreed that we could have multiplied that by 2 or 3 just based on the dental cleaning alone. We didn't even, extractions and the others, maybe teeth whitening and oral surgery. But this is how you can go ahead and figure out how you can attain that 500. So if you are still in doubt, here's how you are going to do it. And when you think about the how before I get into it, and you think about your practice, you can start with what you currently do. So if in my practice, I currently serve persons who are walking in, maybe I don't promote on social media, I get my patients from referral. It's how can I get more from who I already have? And that is how you think about the whole. So let's look at dental cleaning as an example. You're collecting the names, email address, and the contact numbers for your patients. You're ensuring that all your current patients are booked for their next cleaning appointment. So if you have, and you can set your target, if you have 100 persons who come in maybe 6 months, how am I ensuring that they are booked for their next 6 months service? That's what you want to think about, ensuring that they are booked and have somebody who is following up. Sending monthly email tips about dental hygiene. When you have your practice, whichever practice you're in, this is something I encourage clients to do, because what we tend to do is, and I've said it and I'll keep saying it, we don't want to treat our patients like they're ATMs. We want to ensure that when they interact with us, they're interacting with us throughout. And this is why when you watch ads on TV, some of the same ads come up at the same time, because they know you are sitting there and they want to be top of mind. What we do, because we're in a field where we're specialists and we think that people need our service, we don't place a lot on the marketing and the communication side of it, but we need to. So I recently received, recently received an email from my dentist, and it's a blog that they started, which is very, very good. And they're giving you tips on how, you can ensure that you're keeping up your dental hygiene while you're at home in between those 6 months. What if you decided that once per month, I'm going to send persons email about if maybe I'm a doctor, or I'm a medical person who specializes in gut health, for example, and we talk about specializing in another session. I may want to share tips with persons. How can you take care of your gut? These are some of the things that you want to do. I'm not going to tell you not to indulge and not to eat and enjoy the festivities of the holiday, but what if these are things that you do after? Communicate with your patients. Let them feel that they're a part of the family. Don't only talk to them when you want something or when you want to be able to get them to come in for an appointment. Another thing you want to do is to send thank you emails after a visit. We often believe that when we communicate with our patients, it's when something is happening. But no, just send a thank you and that's it. Oh, they're nice, and we will move on, but we will remember it. So these are some, it's not an exhaustive list because, of course, it will be built out. But think about maybe 4 things you can do right now to ensure that you have your target per month and how you're able to bring in your patients. Now, I encourage you to focus on those activities that lead to the result and not focus on the result after it happened. Don't just think about, okay, at the end of the month, end of the year, did I make 120? But think about the things that you need to do. And the areas that we have noted here, these are those things. We call them in strategic planning lead indicators, but these are the activities. So if you have 100, if you, let's use 40, if you have 35 patients booked for the month, that's an indication that maybe 20 might come or it may be less. All right, so that was for dental cleaning. Let's move on to extractions. Right here, you need no new clients, no new patients. You can now think about the patients that you have come in for cleaning, and you can target those patients. I'm not saying to prescribe or recommend something that they don't need, but if there is something that they need and you know that they need it, how can I now recommend them to stay with us? A lot of times what we tend to do is that we're looking out. I'm looking out to see where can I get the next client, where can I get the next patient when they're all sitting right there. I remember, not in the medical field, but I did a program, a course once, and when it was finished, I was like, oh my God, I wish you would then offer to do more. I wish you would then say to me, let's come and do this. So if you know that there's something that's needed for your patients, you're now recommending them to stay with you. And I know most dentists may do this, but because we know we have other persons who are in various practices, I want you to think about what you offer and how it is that they can get from you what they need. So one of my clients who is a dermatologist, one of the things that she also does is that she decided that she's going to sell her own products, because what was happening is she was recommending her patients to go elsewhere to get the products, and they now felt as if, oh my God, this is something else that I have to do. They weren't doing it, so they were coming back with the same issues that they had before. And so she decided to start selling her own products. That is something that you can do. It may not be your own, but it may be you partner with a company and you keep those products internally. So once you recommend, it's a one-stop shop. Think about it like that, a one-stop shop for your patients. Or if you're partnering with someone, maybe you have an office space, there is something that you know your patients need, let me go there. That's the reason that's the reason you may have doctor offices and pharmacies are close by, because the pharmacists realize that the doctors are going to prescribe. What if I am right here? What if I am walking distance from the patients? So that is what you want to think about, one-stop shop for your patients. Whitening. This is one per day, and I am sure you can do this. After you make a recommendation to your patients, let them know, this is what we do, refer a friend. If it's on social media, that's another place. Woke up New Year with some throat issues. Right. So for this, you are sharing on social media, or you ask persons to refer a friend, or you're promoting through your emails. So this is something that I know is possible. And remember, if you're just joining, we are using the dental services as an example. I want you to insert your own. I want you to think about how it is that you can think through what you offer and what you do per month. to grow your business. So we're aiming for 500, and if you just joined, we already realized that we could multiply that by 3 or 4 already. Oral surgery. Now, when we worked out oral surgery, it worked out to 14 patients per month. That's like almost 3 on average per week. These are just some things that I just thought of based on, who I've worked with. Partner with an orthodontist, promote on social media, become an expert in your field. This is sometimes we don't see being an expert as something that we want to do. And I know for the for the doctors that I've worked with, one of the things for them is they don't want to be out there, they don't want to be on TV. But the thing about it is, if you're on TV, you're on radio, persons see you as an expert, so you are really calling them in without asking them to come in. And so I want you to think about that as well as an area that you want to think through. If you are still trying, because I get that I've been focusing on one particular field, if you are still trying to figure out what that looks like for you, this is something that I want to propose that you use. If you're working through, how much do I charge? Or I know that I've not been charging what I need, so how can I change that? I got this value ladder from Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins a few years ago. And what it helped me to do is to think about what I offer and the value I'm adding, and how, as I increase the value, my price also increases. So you're getting your word out there, your people are getting to know you. These are some things that you do for free, and we're starting here. Could be a podcast, talking about Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and we can add television or radio to this as well, because then you are now in a space where you're sharing your knowledge and you're not charging. Then it may be a book or a course, not necessarily for you in the medical field. You may want to write a book based on your experience. You may want to write a book based on what you know. But these are just some ways that you can think through the value I'm adding to my patients and what I'm going to be charging as the value goes up. So, you have your premium service. In this example, the premium service was the oral surgery. But what does that look like for you? So think about when you're going through your prices, if you're thinking to revise them for this year, how is that price going up based on the value I'm adding? So we spent some time talking about the revenue that we want to generate. We now know how much we want to generate. We know how many clients we need, and we know our costs. And we know how many clients we need per quarter and how many clients we need per month. Now we want to talk through a little bit, what systems and processes do we need in order to achieve that goal? Because it's not going to magically be achieved by itself. And sometimes we focus a lot on the revenue side because it's probably easier to pick a number. It's probably easier to make a decision about, what am I offering? And, this is a target that I have. But then there's a whole system behind that we need to pay attention to as well. Think about how you're going to reach your clients. I gave you a few examples earlier in terms of emails, in terms of, media and marketing, in terms of referrals, in terms of becoming an expert. But I want you to think through how, and you would really need to know where your patients are. For some of us, we're serving a particular demographic. Maybe you're serving women, maybe you're OBGYN. Maybe you are a dentist, but you're children dentist, you're a pediatric dentist, you name it. Think about how am I going to be reaching them? In order to know how you're going to be reaching them, you need to be very clear on the demographic that you're serving, so you know where they are hanging out, and you also know who the decision makers are. So if you are a pediatric doctor, you know that the kids aren't making the decision. You know that decision is being made by the parents. So how am I putting myself in the space of the clients that I want? So communication, and making that communication as simple as possible. I am reading a book, and one of the things that I have gotten from it, as much as there are many other valuable lessons, is that you don't want your patients to have to run on a treadmill in order to figure out what it is that you do and how you can serve them. You want to make your communication simple. You want to make your communication to the point. I help you to achieve this by doing this. There's a doctor I follow on LinkedIn, and he's a cancer preventative doctor. I help you to, and he makes it very clear. If the cancer comes back, these are the things that we do. So immediately, if you have that situation, you know I can go to this person. That's what you want to do for your service. And we're using a dentist as the example just to work through the numbers, but this can be done for just about any service. So we talk about communication. I want to share with you something I did for one of my clients where we work through, I call it using granny language to put out her communication, which completely helped and completely made it. What's that? Completely made her communication so simple that persons could relate to it. So we're talking to human beings. I know for us sometimes when we come on social media, one of the things that happens for us is that we sometimes forget that we're talking to people, and we sometimes forget that these people also they speak a certain way. We're not robots. We don't talk like robots. We never went to the same medical school that you went to. As such, the words that we use and how we express ourselves are different. And what you want to do is that you want to share, you want to talk, you want to communicate in the language that your patients are communicating in, so you can pull them in. So, for example, when we went on her website, one of the things that we saw were all of these things. Like, we don't know what some of these words are. We probably, if I'm speaking to my friend about a situation I have, would I use these words here, or would I use the words to the right? So if I'm talking to somebody about my hair, am I going to say, oh, I need hair regrowth? I may say my hair is falling out. Can you help me? Or I might say my skin is sagging, or I'm having stretch marks, or I have some bags under my eye. I may not say dark circles. Some persons may say it, but think about what you offer when your patients are sitting in front of you. Be aware, be present to the fact that they are there, and listen to how they communicate. Listen to the words that they use. Listen to how they express themselves. That right there is your marketing. So don't have to go and figure out, okay, what am I going to be sharing, or what does my social media look like? You are now more aware. You're speaking in the voice of your patients. So when you're speaking in their voice, they will not be hearing you. But once you start talking in medical terms, we have no idea what you're talking about. And sometimes it's not that the service you're offering is not needed, it's that the persons you're talking to don't understand what you're selling. And if they don't understand it, or they have to do work, then they're going to move on. And also, we're in an age where there's a lot of information. A lot of persons are pushing, and with social media, things are just coming at you. If you think about something, it automatically appears on your social media, on your Google. So the communication space is very crowded. So you want to think about, how am I now going to stand out in this space that is already crowded, so I can reach and so I can target my particular clients that I want to come in. So when you think of the service that you would have listed, and as I said, this example, we use a dentist, but I was just using that so I can go through and show you how to break down your target. Go ahead and insert your services. And the link to book the appointment is in the chat. If at any point in time you want to hop on a call and talk about how we can do this for your practice, go ahead and schedule your appointment. And at the end of this, I'm also going to be sharing the link to the sales plan, which is a simple Excel sheet that you can also use, already created for you, so you can use it to plan for your business. So when we're now talking about how we're going to achieve those targets, we want to now focus on, how am I communicating? How am I sending the message out so that my patients can come in? it's important that you set the foundation for your growth. So when we talk about the how, that is a part of your foundation. Sometimes we want to start, oh, I was told I need to be on this platform, so let me go on there. But you need to know why you're going on there. You need to know who you're going to be talking to over there, wherever there is, and what you're going to be saying to them. And that's a part of your communication plan. So, talking about systems, you may have heard or may not have heard the word client relationship management system. This is how you are remaining in contact with your patients. Earlier, we would have shared that one of the strategies you can use is that you can schedule appointments, or you can, send emails. You don't want to have to sit down and type in the individual emails. With a client relationship management system, you are able to do that automatically. Once you have all your client data, you type one email and it goes to everybody. And you're already capturing your patient's information. You can set up automation for your client communication. So if you decide that you're going to be doing newsletters because you're adding value to your patients and you don't want to only communicate with them when they're coming in for an appointment, one of the things that you can do is set up your communication for the month. You may decide, I'm going to be sending one email. This is how you can take care of your mental health. I'm going to be sending one email for the month about mental health. And you would have thought about it from December, we hope. If not, it's still not too late. So if you are sharing about mental health, maybe you know some of the feelings and the emotions that persons have coming over into the new year. Some persons may be anxious, some persons may not be as excited, some persons are dealing with different challenges in their lives. Pick 4 topics that you want to talk about and share those 4 topics over January. You probably can take an hour or two, create those emails, set that up in a system, and set a date and a time when it goes out. It's done and ready, and you move on and focus on your work. What happens for us when we don't set the foundation and when we don't plan, we are working and planning at the same time, and that is when it feels overwhelming. Pull yourself away, take some time, make the plans that you need so things can operate smoothly while you can go ahead and serve your patients. What other systems do you need? You may need an accounting system. So I know most medical services, they would have something like this, especially because you're also communicating with the insurers that you use. So this might already be there, but ensure that you have an accounting system that you are also familiar with. You can go on it at any point in time and look at, I projected that I was going to earn this amount per month. Did I hit my target? I projected that I was going to have this number of patients coming in. Did I hit my target? So have a system that allows you, and there are other systems that you may use for that part of it. You may use to make sure that you are able to track. You need to know your numbers. And we're going to talk about recruitment shortly. But remember, knowing your numbers is also important. And if you're just joining, you can always hit us up in the chat. Profitable private practice is what we're about. Just ensure that you can have smooth operations. Social media. Select one where you believe your patients hang out. We hinted at this earlier, where they may not hang out on social media any at all based on what you offer, but where do they hang out? Hang out meaning, where are they located so you can communicate and reach them. What does that communication look like? If you're going on social media, you may want to test a few and see if there's anybody there, and see where you get most engagement. And you can also do surveys for the patients that you currently have. You can ask them that question. We touched on this in one of our, maybe it was our live or something that we posted, where we were talking about how do you survey your patients. Maybe they come in and you ask them one question. That one question could be, what is your best, where do you get your information from? I'm thinking off the top of my head, but where do you hang out on social media? If so, which one? If your current patients are hanging out there, chances are the ones that you want to target will also be hanging out there. So think about surveys. That surveys can be one question. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be 5, and it doesn't have to be long. But you need to know where your patients are located and how it is that you're reaching them. Now, how, and who to hire. This is very important because you won't be doing all the work yourself. If you're thinking to do it yourself, then you're putting yourself in a state of overwhelm, and you may also be putting yourself in a state where this may not happen, or you're going to feel frustrated. So imagine you are looking on your numbers, imagine you are looking on social media or your marketing and communication, and you're no HR. This business side of the practice is what gets the medical practitioners overwhelmed, because you now feel that you have to do all of this on your own. You are doing this by yourself, and you're not getting enough time to practice what you really want to do. So hiring is very important for you. And I encourage you, hire like the boss you are. You can think about what your strengths and your weaknesses are. You don't have to hire the way other organizations do it. There might be things that you love about what you do. Think about what you don't love or what you're not good at, and recruit for that. Think about what you enjoy doing or what do you not enjoy doing. What does your practice need right now? So after going through the plan from where we started and working through what your targets are, how you're going to communicate and market, how are you going to monitor the systems that you have, you don't want to think about who is going to be doing all of this work. Which part in this do I like and which part don't I like? And for the persons, if you have persons currently on your team, then do the same for them. Assess their strengths, assess their weaknesses, and see how it is that you can fill the gap. So I encourage persons to hire for your immediate needs based on the annual plan that you have, and not just, oh, I don't feel like doing this today, or this is really not where I'm right now. Think about what the plan is for your business and what are the things that you need to do. And before I get to that, one other thing on the hiring, you want to also ensure that when you're thinking long term, that the persons you're hiring are not just persons who come in front of you. If you need help with the hiring, get somebody who is good at recruitment. Because I know from the experience of working with medical practitioners that because you're not may not be a people manager. When you get somebody on your team, sometimes it can be hard to let them go, and you don't want to be stuck with somebody who you don't want to work with. And if you think about a large organization, sometimes the CEO is not the HR manager for a reason. The HR person has been trained and has the necessary skills and competencies to hire, to train, and to let go where needed. So ensure that you have personal expertise. What to avoid, this is from my experience: hiring friends and family without assessing their competence. Somebody comes and yes, they need a job, and yes, you need somebody, but you may not be able to afford the role that you need right now. So yes, bring them on. That is a no-no. If you're bringing persons on who are friends and family, ensure that you have assessed their competence and you know what they can bring. And if it means that you probably know that they can help, but you're not really sure, make it very clear from the get-go that this is a contract or this is a testing phase. If you know you won't be able to say no after the testing phase, don't do it. Another thing that you want to avoid, not having a clear compensation plan. Now, this becomes a challenge when your business moves through the various seasons. You may have a time when you're making a lot of money. And now that I say this is something that we probably should have touched on when we looked at the numbers. When you're making your projections, while we divided it equally across the year, you don't have to do that. There are seasons for your business. You may know that in various quarters, things are very, very busy. Project high for those quarters and project low for the ones that you know are going to be low, and you can still achieve your end goal. Now, when you don't have a compensation plan or it's not clear, What you may find yourself doing is in the seasons where you're making a lot of money, you may say, okay, I can take a bonus here, or I can pay my team a bonus. And I've seen this happen where my client decided that they had a very good quarter, so she paid a lot, and then the next quarter was down, and she didn't have anything to give them for December. So you want to be aware of that. Be aware of what the seasons are in your business. Be aware of what your compensation plan is. Communicate that to your team. We are going to be paying bonus at the end of the year, and this is how bonus is determined. Because if you end up pay and then you don't make any money next quarter, then that's going to be a challenge. Hiring based on feelings, and we're touching on this because in order for you to achieve that 500,000 goal, or we probably reach 2 million based on what we saw was possible, you are going to need a team that is there to support you. And in order to have a team, you would need to hire. So if at any point in time, we have our link in the chat that you can go on and schedule your consultation call so we can talk. And I'm going to share with you at the end of this the link to utilize our free sales plan so you can plan for the year if you have not already done so. Hiring based on feelings. No. We don't want to do that. We want to hire based on a plan. And that is why this is important for you to walk through from start to finish how it is you're going to be hiring, because you know what you need. I am going to need somebody to do the communication. I'm going to need somebody to be watching my numbers and reporting it back to me. So I don't need an admin officer. I need like an admin manager, for example. Avoid not assessing your strengths, your team strengths, so that you're clear on what you need to grow. Don't just jump in and say, okay, I need somebody to, because as a CEO, that's why I say hire like a boss. You're able to create the roles that you need. Roles are changing. They have happiness officer. Like the roles, they don't have the same names that they did before. So think about that as well. Who you need on your team. You're going to need an assistant. You need a lawyer, accountant, a business consultant, and you're going to need a marketing officer. And these persons don't all have to be permanent. Of course, your lawyer and your accountant, all of these persons can be a contract worker. Never can tell depending on the size of your team. What I did for one of my clients is, because of the makeup of her team, she was able to get marketing support from somebody who was there. We're seeing on social media that there are so many persons who are in particular field, whether a police officer, whether a nurse, they become content strategies. It's because they know. So go ahead and look at your team if you have one, and select them. And this is what I was talking about. Create your own job title if needed. Decide what you need when you need it, and create your own job title and see how that works for you. Your team, as I shared before, it may be contract or permanent. You want to think about how you're keeping your team motivated. One of my clients, one of the goals that she shared with me when we started working was, I want my team to be happy. How do I ensure that they are happy? And one of the things that we did was we said, okay, let's first find out what's their love language. What do they like to do? Because as the boss, sometimes or as individuals, we tend to go with the traditional way of doing things. And we don't pause to think about, is there a new way? Has things changed? What can I do differently? So how do I keep them motivated to deliver on the results that we spoke about? And how will I reward them? How you reward one may not be how you reward everybody else. So think about how you reward your team. What do I need? That's you as the boss. So we've spoken about the financial side of it. We've spoken about the client side. We've spoken about the systems and the processes. What do I need? You're now a boss. You're now a CEO. You're no longer just a doctor. You're no longer just a medical provider. What do I need? I may need professional training. I need to be kept abreast about the different legal side of my business. I need to make sure I know what's happening in the technology side. What do I need as an individual to continue showing up as the boss I need to show up as? And then you want to think through, what does my business need? What will my business need in order to go to the next level? Maybe I need a new space. Maybe I need to upgrade my machines. you name it. Think about that as well, because everything, the foundation matters. And that is why sometimes you may see some persons, they are able to start their practice and grow exponentially because they work through what their business need, and they're able to identify what that key differentiator is. So this was your roadmap to 500K. Do you think that it is now possible? And it's about thinking through what you're able to do. Maybe it is, you may need somebody else on your team. Maybe you may need to realize that I need to invest in these things right now, because that is something that we tend to not do. When you're making your plans, I know we've only looked on the revenue side. We can always do another instructional video to look at the cost side to see how you determine, the cost for your operations. But one of the things is, if I'm able to see what the revenue is, and I know I cannot carry it on my own, but in order to get to this revenue, I need these people, then it may cost something initially. But that initial cost is just no. And when you're able to bring somebody on the team to manage certain things, then you can see the exponential growth after. So I do hope that this was possible, this was informative, that you got something from it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. Remember, you can always book your profitable private practice consultation by clicking the link that we've shared in the chat. And also, I did promise you that I was going to give you the link to our free sales plan. That's a sales plan that we use to go through. The sales. Okay, so I dropped the sales plan there. Yes, Andrea, short term versus long term. That's very, very important for us to think about. Sometimes what ends up happening for us as CEOs is that when we think about a cost that we're going to be, putting on our books today, it may seem like a lot. But having worked in large organizations, I've seen where we have foregone profits for quarters and years because we know that the investment is needed. And I used this example before where I said, if you look at a building that's being constructed, they may take months to work on the foundation. And then you look and you're like, oh my God, when did that building go up? But guess what? When you spend the time to work on the foundation, then you realize that you set yourself up for exponential growth. So I do hope that you were able to get something from this live. Go ahead and apply it to your business. One of the concerns that persons have sometimes is, how am I going to do this on my own? And that is why we spend some time talking about the how, the recruitment, the systems, the processes, and the training of yourself so that you can achieve your goals. So that was our road to 500,000. And I do hope that you are now able to realize that it is possible for you once you take the time to plan. But the planning is important. Go ahead, use our free sales plan link that we have there, and you can go back through this video and just follow along and decrease where needed. And then I'm looking forward to having conversations with you as you book your private consultation call. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you're watching this on replay, drop your name. If you have questions, DM us and we can continue the conversation where at a convenient time for you. All right. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.